Good morning, everyone. We're going to start. So we'll start with a Karakia from Rika.
Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa ponamu te moana. Hei huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou kātua. Huie tai miki e.
Kia ora, Rika.
The translation for you all is, may peace be widespread, may the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Let us show respect for each other, for one another, bind us all together.
Kia ora.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Nice pronunciation. You're working.
So we'll start with public forum. Okay, there are no apologies for today. So we'll start with the public forum. Just a reminder that only people around the table can speak, get 5 minutes, and we can only ask questions for clarification. So we'll start with Steve Hart and Danny Nielsen. Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
It's been a nice warm room. Nice and upset at this table.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, my name's Steve Hart. I'm the chairman of the Kalatunu Residents and Ratepayers Association. Today I'm here to represent our association's members regarding what we classify as an unsuitable subdivision application being proposed for a 9-lot subdivision as 4 Cemetery Road, Kalatunu, within a floodplain, and specifically we're here to support the residents of Cemetery Road, Waitai Road, Pumpkin Flat Road, and all residents within the Kalatunu River catchment who have raised concerns about the application with the TCDC Planning Department, and some of those are here today. Our community plan states that we will work with the Community Board, TCDC and other agencies to ensure that all planning and consent are publicly notified and reflect the intent of the District Plan and the Resource Management Act. And furthermore, and given that there are already issues within existing residents and low-lying areas, it will be important to manage all further consents with special regard to stormwater and wastewater management, along with water quality. We have many residents living within or near to the Kalatunu and Waitai River catchment, and those nearby to the proposed subdivision who remain fearful of the next significant rain event or yet another 1 in 100-year flood event. This proposal, with a proposed 2,800 cubic metres of fill going onto a floodplain opposite many of these residents, can only increase flooding risk for adjacent properties. It is not compared to a bucket of sand on a football field, as stated by the applicant to some of the residents when they had a meeting. It's far more than that. This inappropriate application has caused nearby residents unnecessary stress and caused some to consider moving from their properties where they have lived for more than 50 years. This inappropriate application we were only recently made aware that the Waikato Regional Council staff from the Regional Resilience Team, flood specialists, resource consent planners, and a Waikato Regional Council senior engineer contacted the TCDC and raised serious concerns with the application as far back as November 2024. Planners have requested 3 times that the applicants consult with Waikato Regional Council, and twice they have requested that evidence of this consultation is provided within 15 days, or the application will be publicly notified. We have seen no evidence that the applicant has consulted with the Waikato Regional Council. We appreciate the application is now on hold, pending a peer review of 2 previous flood assessment reports provided by the applicant, but the Katoona Residents and Ratepayers Association and residents remain nervous about the outcome, where previous flood assessment reports do not provide any detail about floodwater displacement. They remain solely focused on the applicant's site. We would like to have faith in the TCDC planning team to make the right decision on this application and either decline it or have it publicly notified. But we're nervous given the fact that Auckland City Council, this is a New Zealand Herald article, as recently as last Saturday, have granted 4,000 consents for 4,000 new homes on floodplains since 2023. And I would suggest anyone at this table should actually look at that article and a follow-up article on the 14th of June on a very good sort of comments coming in from a professor at Auckland University say that building on floodplains is going to be like the next leaky homes for New Zealand. It's not just here, it's across the whole of New Zealand. It just doesn't make any sense.
You have 1 minute left.
Pardon?
You have 1 minute left.
Oh, okay. It's our opinion that Section 106 of the Resource Management Act applies in this case where a natural hazard, flooding, occurs. 106 states that the consent authority may refuse subdivision consent in certain circumstances. That is, a consent authority may refuse to grant a subdivision consent or may grant a subdivision consent subject to conditions if it considers that there is a significant risk from natural hazards. We therefore ask the Community Board to follow up with senior staff with our concerns to either decline the application or have it publicly notified. We will not accept a limited notification for this application. It's far greater than just our residents in Cemetery Road, Waitai Road. It's for all residents that are within the catchment of the Kawatuni and Waitai catchments.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yep. Can you tell me what those cubes were again?
2,800
Oh, I did
cubic
get that
metres.
right. And is it true that they need to get a permission from Waikato Regional Council? Do they need to get a consent? They can't just have TCDC consent, they've got to have WRC as well.
From my understanding and talking to Brian Taylor yesterday, they'll require an additional consent because it's a floodplain.
From WRC?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought was correct.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Any further questions?
Just a point of clarification, just to help me understand things. So the planning process is something that the community board has a little direct day-to-day control over. Appreciate you coming in and always very receptive to concerns that people in the community have. Can you just explain to me what you're trying to achieve by today's?
Really, the main thing we want to get it out there, we want to get this in public forum. That's really important. We understand in regards to the board that you're not a decision-making group. And it just does go out for public notification and a hearing, once the objections are made, that would be heard by a commissioner. We understand that, but I also understand that there are staff here today, senior staff, that they can and will be in a position to talk to other staff in regards to this. That's basically, we want to put it out there. We've been writing, and these good people here have been writing to council, to the planners, and I must say, we fully appreciate that Sam Ammon, one of the planners who's been communicating with us, has done an excellent job with responding to our concerns. But we're all stuck within due process, no doubt about that. And this is part of what we think is.
Hey, thanks for coming in and talking to us. Just by a way of show of hands from the public forum, I'm assuming more people have come to talk to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
Yeah, got Lee and Terry here, who probably would be some of the most affected people in Cemetery Road. They live at the end. I've experienced flooding at their property, and I've got photos here, which I'll get Danny to distribute around, showing the amount of flooding they have had. There's no doubt about it. You know, they do accept that flooding has occurred. What we don't accept is an application that's going to make the flooding far worse. Janine Verner, Cemetery Road resident, they've had flooding throughout their property 3-4 times.
Five. Wedding day, he's
Yeah.
far away.
So far, the flooding hasn't come into the dwellings, okay? But you're talking that far. Any further displacement of the flood water, and this displacement is what we're talking about, can only raise those levels up. And then, these people have got problems with insurance. And I dare say that through reading this article in the New Zealand Herald, it also puts it back onto consent authorities to be very cautious about granting consents on floodplains, because that's all they'll be coming back for is the consent authority.
We'll just have one last question from Helen.
I was going to say, have you spoken to the applicants?
I haven't spoken to the applicant myself. These people have,
I do.
and Danny has. And basically, it's, I don't know how you'd put it, probably a fob-off would be the way it was put. When you put in 2,800 cubic metres on this land and you compare it to a bucket of sand on a football field, obviously you're not listening to the concerns of the residents.
So they're
It is.
bringing soil in, is that what you're saying?
2,800 cubic metres will be brought in and placed on that land.
This land.
And is that proven to be a problem?
Anywhere it will be, yeah. If you get rain like that, I mean, this is the applicant area.
That he wants to put that soil. Pass that round.
You can't see his photos, really?
Pass that Carol thing around.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll move on. Danny, you want 5 minutes apart?
Yes, please.
We'll just start yours then.
Right, so Steve has covered the flooding aspect, which I think is a significant problem that we have with this application. We also have a problem with the fact that NZTA have agreed to this subdivision and it's been signed off. There are so many mistakes in their letter to the applicant or to TCD. Number one, they're saying it's an 80 kilometre an hour area.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's a small thing, but they're saying they want a pedestrian crossing across that road in a 70k area. As far as we know, it has to be at least 50. And they want a light, a street light at the end of our road, which is Cemetery Road. I live in Cemetery Road. Now that negates the dark sky accreditation that the whole of Kuatunu basically supports. So this is a big issue. That the other issue we have is the septic tanks going down the Waitara. Now, when you see that those flooding photos, and those photos are from at least 3 different floods, and not the same flood, you will see that that area gets flooded really badly. So that's going to cause problems with the septic tank, and they're going to flow into not only over to our area, but into the Waitara stream as well. So we're quite concerned about all of that. The other thing is the amount of trucks that we'll be bringing in, that 2,800 cubic metres. Our road has a dust cover on it. It's not a proper field. So that will chill out, I think, the whole road, that area. I mean, really the edges of that road are getting chilled out anyway. And we don't know what kind of road management will be in place for those trucks. So there's going to be an enormous amount of trucks coming in to do that. I'm actually going to go on about the flooding, but I think Steve's actually done quite well with that. Oh, yes. We've got some historical photos here. These are way back in
95 hours.
that I'd like you to look at as well, because this shows the flooding way back. Now, I also don't have a photograph. I should have brought along, but in the Kuatunu book itself, the little green book, there's a photo of the
non-denominational church that's sitting in what we call the church paddock, which is across the road from where the subdivision is. It's up on stilts and it's got a raised walkway to it. So that shows way back then it was a floodplain. Now, somebody putting 2,800 cubic metres of soil into this it just, common sense tells you it's going to displace all of that flood water to even more homes, and it's going to be not good.
Sally, with your indulgence, can I ask a leading question? Would you say, is it fair to say that the main road that goes, the state highway is higher than Cemetery Road?
Correct.
Do you know where my brother's house was? He's had a metre of water
Down to Lloyd's.
at Lloyd's.
Oh,
That road is higher
Yeah.
than Cemetery Road. So sorry, that was a leading question and more of a discussion, but I just need to emphasise for the other people at the table, how much water can flow in that area in Cemetery Road.
I think it was in Gabriel, to confirm. Was it Gabriel where we had water coming off the road into the property? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Through the chair here, just cutting to the chase here, what would you like to see happen? Be honest, straight up.
Application declined.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Maybe, Kevin, could you just show me on that map where this house is? The one that you were just holding up?
It's the one that's just been added on to.
Where is this on that map? Might be-
Way over here.
Right, we're all this.
Look at taking, do you know the Kafira subdivision?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a.
That's looking back that way.
It's looking down on Garrett's
Okay.
farm.
What's affectionately known as sort of like the swamp land or the
Yeah.
marshland. Yeah.
We've always called it the floods.
I think the issue also of the flood analysis is that it does not appear to have bothered about what called boundary conditions away from way downstream, and what is the situation of a storm high tide at the same time as the peak flow comes down, and this is when that happens. And the analysis of both reports has been very poor in that regard. Hence, council have asked for a peer review of two reports.
I really appreciate the photos.
Yes.
Thank you. It's pretty interesting.
There's a question here.
Have you shown the applicants these photos? Are they aware?
Yes, I have shown them to him. We had a site meeting with him, and he basically said that he was going to keep going on, that he'd seen the floods, he'd driven past. And I said, well, if you couldn't have driven past when it was in full flood because you couldn't get past. And he basically said that all the soil he was going to put on was only going to be like a bucket in a football field. And I just thought, I don't know where his head is at. Okay.
Thank you for coming in. Just to clarify to everyone in the room that we, as a community board, don't have any control over the resource consent process. But obviously we hear about the community. So thank you for coming in and enlightening us.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to come over? Are you speaking?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on that topic before we move on?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for coming in.
Good on you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll have Karakia or the Tapu Public Correspondence Road.
And Steve, but I'll continue to educate.
No, thank you. And Brian, what's about Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only Danny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Kia ora koutou.
Anta Maria. Cold one, eh?
Yes.
A bit Makariri this morning.
Kia ora all. My name is Karakia and I'm here actually Illingworth. Yes. I'm here on behalf of the residents and users of the Tapukara Glen Road, specifically this end. It's the only end section of a through road on the peninsula that isn't sealed, and we have the local campground there, River Glen. We have around about 45 kiwi fruit pickers that are staying there from Samoa. They think it's hilarious, the state of the road compared to their own roads and home. We also have 6 families that are transporting children daily to school. And the kids call it the pothole apocalypse. They're working on it today. However, it's an ongoing problem. It's been years of this. There's been, countless requests for service. However, the services, just the upkeep is inadequate and actually dangerous. I sent through photos and videos, and so I didn't have a chance to continue that.
We're just going to put them up on.
Yeah, there's a video there that shows the.
Would you like me to play the video first?
That'd be great. This is actually what happens after the service has been done on the road, after they've fixed it. And the rain comes down because they're not putting gravel. This is a really amazing little video. It looks like you're going on a rally drive, really. There's mud all over the windscreen.
Very nicely on this one.
It's not going very well up there, is it? You can see that's going less than 40 kilometres an hour, and trying to actually hold the car on the road is hard. A lot of people end up on the ditch. Luckily, we've got a few people up the road with tractors and four-wheel drives, but even four-wheel drives are struggling. I've been driving my daughter to school and fishtailing down the road, trying to avoid another car, going 30 kilometres. It's dangerous. I'm surprised that there's not been some serious accidents. And yeah, it is a flat piece of road, and it gets the local traffic as well. So it needs way more upkeep, or it needs sealing. I mean, there's a lot of complaints about the dust as well from the local residents, and there has been requests for sealing it. These are some of the rocks that's on the road. It's down to bedrock. They were big rocks. You can see from the hand there. It's as big as my hand, and it's sticking up. These are taken from, right through quite a lot of that was from last year around September, I think. The mud slide there was from December.
I'm sorry.
Potholes. You're actually having to swerve from one side of the road to the other to avoid the potholes. You cannot get around them. It's impossible. You're going maybe where you cannot get around them. You're going 10 kilometres an hour, if that, to get through without destroying your car. It's really dangerous. People are driving on the grass verge because it's bumpy. It's still like that, actually, at that point of road, months after we've asked for service. So I don't know where the budget's going for the fixing of it. Is there enough budget? That's a rock that was on the middle of the road after they've graded it. That was one of the rocks. I think I moved about 10 of them just in a section beside my house there. Other sections are similar. It's pretty bad. This is an article someone put thing into the informal. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So they've covered up like the gravel sign and it just said Grave Road. Yes, the posties complaining as well. A lot of people, because it's a lot of tourists come through. To get to the campground, they have to go through there, so it's making business for that.
That's 5 minutes. John?
Has it got worse or is it just consistently been bad?
It's consistently been bad. They tend to fix it up before public holidays, and it's interesting too because it's in a few roads that are open when it's flooding. It often floods through Pinokete and Tairoa areas, and everyone uses the Tapu Road to get across, and it gets hammered. And you get a lot of traffic.
And when was the last time there was any decent amount of new gravel?
They're putting a bit of gravel now. I'm not sure the last time there was a decent amount. Can't tell you. It's over 5 years, I'd say. They did actually resurface the road, but they didn't put a lot of gravel into that, and they didn't do all sections.
My final question is, what would you like to see?
I'd like to see that the flats up at least, I think it's the 8 kilometres that are sealed. Yeah, I think the money that to keep it the upkeep, I think it would be cheaper to gravel, to seal. I mean, it's a long-term solution for keeping it safe.
I hear that there's a rally going over there shortly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yes, they do that on that road.
I think it's very near few.
That was 300.
I think it's just 309.
Is it 309? It sometimes goes.
Yeah, no, I thought it was probably Karakia as well. I might be wrong.
That adds to the problems because then we have all the other local rally drivers or think our local rally drivers driving it, which we have to dodge on our way to school and back.
Through the chair, is there a lot of heavy traffic that goes over this road?
There are some, but they're not meant to. The foodstuffs truck went on the edge not long ago, so I think been given warning not to travel there. It's actually one of the few roads that don't have insurance for. I know for rental cars, you can't get insurance for that road. It's few in New Zealand.
Okay. So we did put a length restriction on the road, and I guess following on from Peter's question, so you are seeing the bigger trucks no longer using the road.
There's the roadworks.
Unfortunately, the contractors do get.
And there are a few sneaky ones that do go through. Yeah.
12 months ago, I was run off the road into a ditch by a truck and trailer unit. Within the last year.
Karakia, do you think they're just scraping over the top and not dealing with the underlying problems, issues?
Totally.
They're just sort of giving you a Panadol to shut you up?
It's definitely that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they just graded the bedrock out on the road surface and leave it there. That's what you're seeing with the big rocks. And the mud as well. I mean, it shouldn't be slidey after the gravel, after they picked it up. It shouldn't be like that.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. Good work.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak for public forum?
I don't like the formal education.
Welcome.
You're always welcome.
I'm the bothersome person. I just appreciate the korero this morning. And just to reference, I know I can't ask questions and I'm a bit behind on a lot of things, but when I was on community board quite some years ago, we used to have the delegation to look at every application for buildings and subdivisions here. I don't know if that still happens, but it should do, because then it will provide information right from the get-go about local conditions that local people are aware of. I mean, we all know about Kuatu. That's, I know, for argument's sake, to speak to that. The Tapu Road, we all know that. My own driving experience the other week was, I'm not going on it for some time, I can tell you. Another delegation we always had, and I don't know, I haven't seen this in the minutes I've been keeping up with, but we used to always have regular meetings with the police, and I'm not sure if the community board still does that. Sorry, I know you can't answer my questions, but we've got an incredibly important problem in this town of traffic. I live on Robinson Road. I think that it would be very good to get some speed cameras there for a while. The whole town is dealing with basically when all the P-heads are stoned about 3 a.m, plus we all know who's running around town doing deliveries at that hour. There's no action on this. I don't know if wastewater testing is being done here, but it's a huge issue in this town, and I don't see any attempt for this to be tackled. It's causing a lot of social problems, a lot of family problems. I think there was a brawl opposite social services a few days ago. We all know where these people are. We know where they're coming and going. We've seen stolen boats zooming down the harbour. We've got it. Everyone knows it, but where's the action? And I think possibly one of the things that could be done is to be liaising with police and asking with them. If you don't do that every few months, then I think the community board is really missing an important connection with well-being and safety of the town. In general, I think there are some real shocking driving habits. I almost got wiped out on my bike again coming here this morning. There seems to be minimal traffic supervision and just shocking behaviour, not only by the young guys and what have you, but also people just driving across all the median strips, like totally disregarding what is a road and a paved surface. So those are some little observations. I also just want to thank for the opportunity to speak to a need for shady trees. And I did have a talk with Sue Costello about that. I haven't been able to contact her again to get any update on if there's any progress, but it's still planting time. So those are my quick notes. As you know, I've always got many things that I'd like to see.
We appreciate you coming to share that.
But yeah, there's some issues.
Just want to say a tautoko i o kōrero, and especially with the liaising with police.
Yeah.
Those cemetery road applications, things, that we should know beforehand. Any things that's pertaining to the community. So we're in there, you know what I mean?
You're right, yes. And I think this whole shift of so many delegations back to Thames has really diminished the value of the community board and our collective knowledge. So that might be something that could go on an appropriate agenda sometime. Sorry, if I may just mention one other thing that I noticed in today's minutes is the redesignating of the Moewai Park Reserve so that it may potentially become a community marae, having spent time on when we actually still had a reserves committee and we did reviews of all the reserves a number of years ago, which is still many of them relevant. I think the way that park, we first developed it for recreation for the inhabitants of the Moewai Park area, has now been supplanted by the moving of the playground and so forth. And any redesignation of that to enable the community marae would be an amazing opportunity. So if I may just speak to that.
Good one.
Ngā mihi ana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, neighbour.
Are there any other public speakers? Okay. The community board receives Deepa, Danny Nielsen, Wickham, Illingworth, and Anna Horn as speakers from the public forum. And I have a second, a mover and a second.
I'll move.
We got Rika and John. Okay. So there are no items not on the agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest? No? Okay, moving on.
Sorry, Chris, just when actually going to put that vote. We've got to move.
Oh, right, mover and seconder, sorry. For the public forum, all those for? Say aye.
No.
Right, any opposed? No. Okay. So minutes for confirmation, can I have a mover and a
I'll
seconder?
move.
So we've got Delhi and Bess.
Can I make a comment around the minutes,
Yes.
please? Just with regards to the public forum from last time and Anna's request around the shady trees, it's great that Sue's been in touch, but I just wondered, we don't really capture that in our action schedule or anything so that we don't forget.
Good point.
Do you know what I mean? We've had someone come in, make a request, they've had a conversation with staff. We've got 2 more meetings as a board and then you potentially have an entirely new board. Where is that captured so that it's not forgotten if we've had a member of the public come in and ask us something?
I don't think that one is captured. There wasn't an action from that, other than that staff are already working with Anna, so no, your answer is no, it isn't captured anywhere other than that staff have.
But should it be? Should it be captured? Because this is my
If the board
concern.
want that captured, we can do that.
For me, I would like it captured, I'd like all of this captured, and I'd like us to revisit, the requests that come so that people don't come and feel frustrated that they talk to a room of people and nothing happens. I think that we need to make sure that we retain these things and we close the loop. And whether that be, we've seen a few requests and things today, there's an action. I feel personally to invite the police back in and have a conversation and raise the concerns that the community have brought with us, and we've done that. We've certainly done that this term, but I really worry that in public forum, people come and see us and that stuff needs to be captured and around.
So through the chair, my response, I understand and support the thrust of the message. I think the issue here lies with us in that we did not, in moving that motion at the last one, ask for it to be reported back to the board. I think, it shouldn't be up to staff to decide what they report back to us. I think we should give a direction if we require that, and then it should get put onto the action list.
We do, through the chair, we do keep a list of the public forum, like that, and we respond to everyone, which we copy you into to say what actions are being taken. So when we go back, we're like,
So that was my question, because I hadn't seen a response from last meeting to this meeting to Anna, and I'm happy to hear that she's having conversations with staff, but
There is one.
So if I could just finish my point that I was making there, for example, from the public forum this morning, we have no direction in regard to whether we want any action or any follow-ups from that. And I don't think it's fair to expect staff to decide for us what we need. We should be giving that clarity. So I would have thought that we should have put something in our resolution at the last time and to report back to the board with an update or something along those lines. That would be very clear that we wanted that. That would then get it onto the action list.
Through the chair and support of John, we have the public forum and then we just seem to close shop and move on. Really a couple of points this morning, which I would have liked us as a board to talk about, particularly with the stormwater problem and whether it's something that the board could do. And
I
also
think
this
this
part,
needs to be waited until we are on the action schedule. We're actually now at minutes of confirmation, so we just need to confirm the minutes. Are we all happy with the minutes? And then anything on the action schedule can be during the actual schedule
I
time.
think my question, going back to my initial point is, not everything from public forum seems to be captured in the action schedule.
No,
So
I know.
somewhere there's a process that we have missed as a board.
Through the chair, what we can do is when we get to the action schedule part of the agenda, we can make sure that there's a standing question. Is there anything that you'd like to add to the action schedule? And then all of those items that you've heard in the morning, or might have got lost in the wayside, you can raise them, we can record them, and then it's a really clear direction as to what you expect to be recorded on there.
Okay.
Okay, so the Mercury Bay Community Board confirms the 7th of May 2025 minutes as a true and correct record of proceedings. Can I have a mover and a seconder,
I
please?
think I moved.
Yeah, that's second. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. So the Moewai Park Reserve. So is there anything you have to
Thank you, board. Take it that you've all read the report. I've just got a few comments on that. So obviously the purpose of the report is for the board to just consider recommending to council to undertake the process of reclassifying the reserve category of that Moewai Park Road Reserve from recreation to local purpose. I've got Faith O'Sullivan Babe, hopefully Faith is there. Yes, I've got Faith online.
Kia ora.
If we have any specific questions relating to the reserve or that process, because she's the expert on that. Just as noted in the report, we have received a request from the Ngā Tūmanako Whitianga Trust requesting consideration of the site for a community marae, and the members of the trust have been out to the site, had a good look at it, and believe it's the ideal location for them to look at. But it is a large site, and there might be opportunities for the trust to partner with other community groups or for more than one community initiative out there. However, the current reserve classification doesn't allow us any ability to consider that as it stands at the moment. So, which is why we are looking at this. And the first step, I guess, for progressing any community initiative for that site is to undertake that reclassification process through what we've set out in the report. We anticipate there's going to be a lot of community interest, particularly from those Moewai Park residents and South Bay residents. It was really interesting hearing what Anna's comments were there a little bit earlier. Obviously, with public consultation, we don't know what feedback we will get, but we have to start that process. I wasn't able to put any costings into the report, but since then we have been given an estimated cost for the accredited providers part of that. So staff can do a number of those actions, but at the end, the gazettal process, we need to have a LIMS accredited provider. And their very rough estimate was 4,500 plus GST and disbursements, which are things like title searches and all those ancillary things. So it's a preliminary estimate, and it could be subject to change depending on the complexities, but I'm very confident that we have sufficient OPEX budget for 2025-26 to cover that at no extra cost to our ratepayers. And obviously, as noted in the report, there's always a risk that reclassification may not be supported. But does anyone have any questions for, sorry, I'll just come back to you, Dale. Faith, did you have anything extra that you wanted to add on what I've just said?
No, not at this stage, no.
So I would like to move option 1, that we set the wheels in motion, and I have no other comments to make other than I think it's a fantastic opportunity. There is opportunity for kaumātua housing or whatever else the community aspires to, but let's get the wheels moving on that reclassification. So I'll move
for that.
You seconding me?
Second. Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry, just a couple of questions that I've got. The consultation process, can you just explain when and how that would be done? Is that after council consider and approve, or is it done beforehand? And what is the method of doing that?
I might defer to Faith, but firstly, your minutes will go through to council for approval. So that recommendation would have to be approved by council. Once that recommendation is approved by council, then we can start the process. Faith, would you mind just giving a little bit more detail on the process, please?
Yes, kia ora. The process is through the public notice. So basically, once we've got your recommendation to council to carry on with this process, then we actually put a public notice into the paper with our proposal to or our intention to reclassify the reserve from recreation to a local purpose reserve. And from there, I think it's roughly a month that we accept submissions, either opposing or supporting. And we have delegation, so we'll have a sort of a little group set up to have a look at any of those submissions that we received through the reserve management plan process, review process. Basically, there was myself and an external consultant. We went through all of the submissions through when we undertook that process, and from there made comments and then reported back to the community board, this is what we've heard, blah, 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 this is our recommendations, etc. So the public, to answer your question, the public notification is done through the public notice, which has to be put out in newspapers too. The Reserves Act requires that. So it would go out in the local, I think you've got the Informer up there, also possibly the Profile. So yeah, that's how that part of the process runs.
So that's not what I'd call a formal consultation. That's just public notification where people have a right to object. So this doesn't trigger consultation.
Consultation as in going out to talk to key user groups, stakeholders?
Yes, explaining what the purpose of the site will be and giving an opportunity for public to comment and participate in that process.
No, that's not part of this process.
What actually
So what we're doing at this stage, all we're doing is we're proposing to reclassify the reserve. So the reserve has already been classified as recreation. It's gone through a public consultation process as part of the reserve management plan review. So it's got a reserve management plan that says it's a recreation reserve. What we're proposing to do is reclassify. So that what we're talking about is just the reclassification process. So it's still a reserve regardless. We're just changing the classification of the reserve, which will open it up to a broader use, if you like. So at the moment, it's quite constrained by just being a recreation reserve.
And so people can feedback then, is it via that public notice?
Yes.
That gives them the opportunity, and you have a hearing,
Yes.
they can ask to be heard at the hearing, things like that.
Yeah.
And obviously people can submit in favour of that reclassification as well. So I think that's important in the messaging, what goes into the paper, that, we're looking at this reclassification, welcome your submissions, for, against, neutral, whatever.
The reason that I raised it is one of, we're always quite often criticised for the lack of transparency, and I would have thought that putting something out to say, looking at the use being changed for this purpose, so it is quite clear and giving people the opportunity to have a say, it would seem appropriate to do that.
And I wonder if we could use avenues like the chairperson's you know, the ad and the informer and things that, hey, this is happening, and we encourage you to have your say. So where it might not be formal consultation, we tag onto that process, but we use our channels, the weekly newsletter and things like that, to encourage people to be part of that process.
And through the chair, to be clear, at the moment, it's what Faith was saying as well. We're not saying that we're doing this for any particular, you know, like
we're just saying we reclass.
The Tumananga Trust have put forward their interest, which has triggered the need to do this. They're a long way from giving us concepts and applications. There are other community groups who may have an interest. So by doing this very first step of reclassifying through the reserves process, allows us to then consider anything that comes over our desk, whatever that might be.
Through the chair, that's the way I see it. This is like stage one in a process.
Very
Application. And then when we move on to what the actual
someone gives us a,
then there'll be another application and public consultation, so on. So it's just stage one to open it up, so then we can consider future uses.
Flicking a switch.
absolutely correct, Peter.
That's what.
Yes, that's correct.
So once we open it up, there could be a number of community groups or different groups that come forward and they actually, I want to use it for X, Y, and Z. Yep. Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
And in the interim, we've stopped adding additional fruit trees and things to the site.
Through the chair, I have talked to our park staff and said that this is happening, and Faith is part of that team as well. Any trees that are there at the moment, I've been assured can be like moved around as well before they get any bigger.
Thank you.
So through the chair, just to be clear, so in this initial step, I may have missed it, would you be saying there is a proposal at this stage by community users to put a marae there, or is it just nothing then?
Through the chair, no, that's, and Faith can back me up on this, but no, it's purely to allow those kind of proposals to be put forward. I mean, there's an interest in expressed, but that's not a full proposal.
But that's not being mentioned in the public notice. Is that what you're saying?
Faith, I don't believe that would be mentioned looking at reclassification to allow us to start those conversations.
Yeah.
We've got to start with the first step. So I understand it.
Baby step.
Okay. So we've had a quick mover and a seconder. All those in favour of reclassification say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, motion carried. Good. We've got the CAPEX program, and we have Luke.
Morning.
Hi.
Right, good morning, everybody. Through the chair, I just wanted to talk to a few points before I am open to questions for you. Just a quick update on the Whitianga RTS. Construction's underway, so there's really not a huge amount that we can report. But the key piece, I guess, in the puzzle is that we will be asking for a carryover of the budget from this year to next. It took a bit longer to get us to market, delayed our construction schedule, but the contractor is still confident to deliver on the overall plan. So they'll work within the timeframe we've given them, and we'll get the outcome when we ask for it. It's the update on that one. There have been some delays on the timber tank for Whitianga. We had some challenges with the bypass and the contractor that's responsible for that, which delayed works for a week. So the roll-on of that is, even though we're reporting here mid-June completion, it's end of the month. We'll still get it done for the end of the financial year, but those unanticipated delays have pushed us back a little bit. Lastly, public conveniences. So there's a number of those that are part of that TIF funding. We have had challenges with consents in regards to getting the information we need from our contractor to be able to finalise those consents and to be able to start works. We have issued instruction from our engineer to contract, try and prompt some pace on that. And we are looking not at this financial year full completion, but within the funding envelope, which is the and so we are ramping up a bit of pressure now on that one. Other than that, I'm open to any questions that you may have today.
Rika? Thanks. So just quick, going back to the refuge transfer stations, we have our plan on the page.
Yes.
I'm assuming you're tracking this project, and if there's at any point it starts slipping, how does that get reported back? Does this green just turn to an amber, or?
So if there's anything that's coming up that says it's not on track, you will see another project on the page. It was just, we went to prepare it and it was empty. There was nothing really to say, just doing
Nothing to
work.
report.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, perfect, thank you. Oh, any other questions from anyone? I just wondered, sorry. I just wondered if you would like to make a comment or just about Sheriff Block and how that's tracking. Last time you were going to go out and meet the contractor around finishing stage 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so I can provide an update on it. We started to go out on site with the contractor. We've agreed on a little bit more work required. The handover isn't until, I think it's October. Yep, that's right. And so they're going to do another grading, for instance. So when we went out, because they put a lot of cut in on the site, it takes a bit of time to settle, and so there was some areas there that were a bit sort of muddier and not lush. So they're going to do a full regrade, and they're committed to having that surface ready for the resurvey timeline. I've got 2 staff out there today supporting the activity, who's responsible for that, to see what we need to do to support them to have that event. So technically not a project, but we've got the right skills to support the team. And so Kathy and my team's a landscape architect, so we're utilising that background to try to help them understand best flow, layout, those sorts of requirements.
In stage 2, do you want to make a quick comment about?
So we do have a date for a meeting with the directors from WWL, and the idea is to have that conversation with them on what does stage 2 look like. It has been a number of years since those original designs were put in place.
Yeah.
And so the conversation is around, well, is that still fit for purpose for what council wants to do in the long term at this site?
So my comment around that is the community groups that we engaged with and talked to at that time that had an interest in potentially stage 2, I feel like that whole conversation perhaps needs to be revisited. It's been some time. So what would the process look like to loop back in either the community board and the wider community in that stage 2, or you're not clear at this stage?
Well, we wanted to have that first conversation with WWL because there is a contract in place with an agreed design. And so we need to be able to gauge their willingness to work with us and the community to get the best outcome in the long term. So, with regards to the work we're doing right now around an event, well, it becomes really obvious that there's some challenges at that site. So parking being one of them. And so what could we do, for instance, with addressing parking as part of stage 2? That's a question mark. And that's the sort of conversation we want to have with the directors.
Okay. Good.
Are you done? I just need.
Yeah, I'm done. Thanks, everyone.
Buffalo Beach Public Convenience is amber at the moment. Install scheduled for end of June. It's the 18th of June today. So is it June this year or June next year?
That's part of the comment I see around tip toilets at consenting.
Okay.
So end of August is the envelope for the tip budgets.
So that one in particular will be more like September start to install? Or?
No, so the idea is that we have it all done, dusted by the end of August.
Oh, okay, good.
So all the toilets are built. They're sitting in storage at the moment, waiting for.
So demolish and drop, isn't it?
Yeah, it's put that in place and away we go.
Awesome, thanks.
John?
Just coming back to the sheriff's plot and the summer concert. and timing around that. So handover is in October, which doesn't give a lot of time, does it, for the work to, finish off the public readiness for the January event. Are there concerns around the timeframes and the readiness of site for, how does that happen? Does that sort of move off from you to another group, or?
So it's essentially moved off. So we're now in a support role as a project team. The activity, so parks and open spaces, inherits that site. So that site is going to be handed back to them, and they're already actively visiting and doing some work to support Mitch and Kirsten in regards to the event and having the site ready for the event. So while the site is still occupied by the contractor and they're doing essentially just maintenance, mowing, and they'll do that regrade, the other teams are working actively in regards to being prepared.
I sort of out there recently having a look, and it's a really exposed site, isn't it? There's no cover. So it'll be, I just wonder whether we should be looking as a board getting a briefing around what the plans are for the summer concert, and whether we could have staff note a request that at some point soon that we get parks and reserves to come and have a talk to us about the preparing of the site for the summer concert and what's involved, and what expectations there might be around that.
Really good idea.
Is that fair?
Yeah, we can organise it.
Great.
We'll go best then, Rika.
Just going back to the refuse station. Okay, just ground level here. When people ask me, if the community asks me, oh, how far away is that refuse station? Yeah, when will it be operational, or when is it getting built, or whatever? What do I say to them?
June.
This year, next year?
June 2026.
Thank you.
Thanks for the report. Yeah.
Hold up.
Okay.
Just sorry, I had one more question, and that was around roading. And I see that we spent from our rehab budget, majority budget spent on replacing loose cobbles, which created a trip hazard on Albert Street. So I know exactly where we had to do that, and I see delivery vehicles, courier vehicles, and that constantly filling up on that site. And I know the work's been done, but are we going to do something to stop vehicles from getting up there? Because clearly that wasn't designed to take the weight or the on and off of those delivery vehicles.
I can't answer the question on that one because it's a roading specialisation being delivered that. But I can make sure the question's asked.
Because our main street is relatively new, and it's a shame that we've seen that have to be replaced so quickly after that upgrade. Yeah. But I really think there needs to be something, and I hate to say the B word, to stop bollards, to stop vehicles from mounting that curb and coming up there. It's by the little stormwater river drain.
Oh, I know.
It's just there.
And also, sorry to add on to yours, huge truck pulled up by the BNC and drove up onto the curb there to deliver stuff to shops and Subway and things there, right in front of me. Like I was about to cross the road and he just pulled right up onto that.
Yeah. And obviously, so the cobbles don't cope really well with the weight of those vehicles. Yeah. But if you can pass that on to your roading friends, that'd be great.
And also I noted damage at the end by the pushing the takeaways in that little pedestrian access area. It's crumbling at both sides there as well. And it wouldn't at that end. Yeah. So whether it's the quality of the material used, I don't know if trucks would be.
I don't think trucks are
climbing onto there. But something's breaking it up. Can I just ask about Sheriff Block? Apart from the annual summer concert, should they continue. Is there any other things planned for there by council, or is it all just eggs in one basket?
Not best to answer that question. I'm about the project of getting it ready.
You're ready for
That's the question, yeah.
getting it ready for
Summer concert.
It's been tasked for events. Now, I don't know the detail of beyond the statement.
So we'd need to ask Kirsten to come and have a chat with us.
Are there any other further questions?
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you. Cheers, Ruth.
Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive the action schedule?
I'll move.
I'll see our CAPEX schedule, sorry. So we got Rika and Jelly. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? No, motion carried. So now we'll move on to the action schedule. Is it you have comments?
Through the chair, only the comment that Dean made previously, that if you would like anything added to that from today, please let me know.
Yes, please. We get an update from the parks team in regard to the sheriff's block and use for the summer concert.
I've captured that already, yeah.
Thank you.
Rika?
I certainly would like to follow up and have another meeting with the local police around the comments that Anna made. And certainly, well, let's just meet with them. They're really important. I would like captioned somewhere there that there has been a request of the board to put in some more shade trees. And I think she mentioned a couple of different places, but I think we should have a conversation. We will have some discretionary budget left, so that we might be able to buy some trees. But I would like for us as a board to have a conversation. Tabu Corriglen, I'd like to understand what the regular maintenance schedule is for that road. I thought, I know certainly when the roads were closed after Gabriel, they had an increased maintenance schedule, both Tapu and 309. I'm just wondering whether they've slipped back to their old schedule or what that looks like, and whether we can have a conversation about sealing the first 8Ks.
Could I just suggest and butt in on your thing to say maybe we could broaden that to include some of the other roads where we're hearing a lot of feedback at the moment. Like
Haimarama. Good point. What was the other thing that came up this morning? I know that it's not for the board to comment, but I think we should have a conversation around whether we want to, as a board, make some commentary to senior planners around the Cemetery Road subdivision. I mean, does that put us in a dangerous space? But we've had some pretty clear community feedback. So do we wait for the process, or do we want to do something in the interim?
Through the chair, the video and the photos and everything that was said today will be passed on to our planning team for their information.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Excellent. So that's what I've captured from public forum this morning. Anyone else has anything they want to add?
I think maybe as an idea that we could ask for the board to be kept up to date with the process in regard to that as a result of today, to inform us when a decision is made
on the cemetery road.
Yeah.
So I've been advocating on behalf of the community and made it very clear that I can't influence the decisions that are made. And being liaising, I've talked to Tamil and I've talked to Brian and fed back some of their korero to the group, and also spoke to them before they came today, that, you know, eyes are on this application and that it's got some very, very big hoops to jump through. And that not least of all the WRC approval. So, yeah, I don't know that we can make a formal letter of support because we're interfering in operational matters, but certainly being kept in the loop on what's happening is fine.
I think because it's, sorry, Becca, because it's under the Resource Management Act, that there is no ability to do that, other than that we can pass that all on and make those comments known.
And I've just asked questions of staff on their behalf, and staff have been great. They've all been really good.
If it becomes publicly notified, I mean, there's a conversation for the board around whether they'd like to make a submission, and would that be appropriate or absolutely out of line?
For the chair, we would get some advice.
Yeah,
I think we can seek some advice on that.
Be the voting club all over again, though.
I think it's a little bit different, but same process.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking of, the dragons, if we're seen to take a position on.
Well, I just think when you have a huge community.
Oh, yeah, you're talking to someone who's been talking to them for months, but so, yeah, you don't have to convince me, but I'm just thinking.
What was like the community were so split. That's why we decided that this is what all the community wants, Yeah.
I don't think it's appropriate for us to take a side on this, but we can take an interest in what is going on and ask to be kept informed of where that is. If that decision was controversial in any way, then it gives us the right to be able to have a look at the broader policies that exist in regard to how that really happened from a governance perspective. And I think that's where we have the opportunity to take that interest. Hopefully the policies are adequate to cater for the situation, but good to be kept informed.
Absolutely. So before we move on from that, Madam Chair, is there anyone else that has anything that was mentioned this morning they want captured?
I don't know, you were talking and I interrupted you earlier. Do you have anything? The action?
No, what we've covered, the way we've covered is fine. Thank you.
May we ask questions? Yes, you can. My Dean knows exactly the first question. Boating club update is May.
So are you on the monitoring?
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. I've jumped to the monitoring schedule. Boating club?
I spoke to the boating club probably a week and a half ago. And the situation is the same as last month. They believe a decision is imminent.
Oh, helpful.
Those poor guys.
Yeah, it's just been going on. Question around variety of split, which I ask regularly. Is just waiting on the boating club decision for it? Are they dependent on each other, or is progress being made on that plan?
Through the chair, they're independent pieces of work. So Heather can talk to the cultural values assessment. The one thing that where there is interdependency is that we're not going to do anything to tidy up the area around the boat currently up on stilts until there's a decision on the future of the boat club, and then we plan to depending on the outcome, tidy up that reserve in its entirety. So, but the cultural values assessment is separate to that. Heather, would you like to comment on the CVA?
No, other than it's in progress and we've been advised it will be done by the 30th of June. So I just need to follow up and see where how they're getting on with that.
Oh, lovely.
May I ask a question? I mean, do we monitor that site? Has there been significantly more erosion into where the boating club was?
Through the chair, the the surveyor for the boat club is lucky that it has a surveyor as part of its committee, and they do regular monitoring that they then supply to council's coastal team. So that's been really helpful. We monitor the site in terms of the health and safety. So just recently we noticed that it might have been kids, we're not sure, but someone had undone the safety fencing. And so there was a quick phone call and the boat club went out there, fixed up the safety fencing, trimmed the area, just gave it a bit of a tidy up. So we monitor it in that way, but we're council's not currently actively monitoring the rate of erosion.
Just through the chair, there's an eyewitness walking along there a couple of days ago. There's not much of that site left where the boat club is, and the spit's getting chewed away by Mother's Brown stream as well.
Is that eroding?
It was a huge corner,
It moves around though. And it's got a very big bend on it and sort of a weird bit sticking out now. So could be a problem in a storm.
Through the chair, I probably should say that our coastal team, so Jamie and Amon, will probably have some type of monitoring going on. I'm also aware that Waikato Regional Council has shoreline profile, like long-term state of environment type monitoring. So there's monitoring going on, and just maybe we could come back to a briefing and we'll tell you exactly who's
That would be really useful just to understand. And I know it's a dynamic, especially the stream end is dynamic because of, but it would be good to understand if there is any erosion happening at the spit end.
Karakia, sorry.
I just want to say, at the proposed boating club site down in Dundas Street, I've been taking kai down there to homeless people who are down there living in their cars. I'll take kai down to them on Fridays and Wednesdays, so they are there.
Karakia water and wastewater consultation document to be developed and issued June 25. Where are we at with that? And would it be possible to see a draft or a consult doc? Because it will be very localised consultation, won't it? It will be directed to the householders.
Through the chair, I don't know the answer to that at this stage, other than what I've been provided here, so I can find out where that's at and what's happening. Because we are in June 2025.
We are in June.
Yeah.
6 months. We'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
Are there any other items there or questions for me?
Okay, the Mercury Bay Community Board received the action schedule and monitoring summary dated the 3rd of June 2025. Can I remove it and a seconder, please?
I'll move.
I'll second. Lisa and Delhi. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carried. We'll move on to the correspondence report.
Through the chair, through the chair, just a note that I've left on your table, a document to table against that, which was the invitation from the Mercury Bay Museum for the 185th HMS Buffalo commemoration on Monday, the 20th of July. And all the RSVP details are on the invitation.
Don't be here.
No, it's going to be, but.
So did we, sorry.
Yes, we do.
Did we see the letter about the trees?
I copied you into the email that I sent out to Anna. It should be linked here or to the link.
It's not, so it's not linked. That's when I went to look for it, and I was there. And that's why I was sort of like, well, what is actually happening?
Did the link not work? Jesse?
There's no link.
There's nothing to put on the report.
Yeah, I put the link in it, obviously, so apologies, Rebecca. Usually it has the link to it, and obviously my fabulous IT ability has made that drop off.
It was on the 13th.
So I'll send it back out.
Perfect.
But it was just really acknowledging the fact that, and I had talked at public forum and that we'd passed it on and that we understood it already because Chris Rutherford was here at that meeting, who's the new Parks and Open Spaces manager. He was here and had an immediate talk with her and has tasked Sue to work with Anna on that conversation.
So just a point of clarification that we did receive a copy of Anna Horn's email of the 6th of May and your response of the 13th of May to.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that would have been what I linked to the correspondence report if I had been more tech savvy.
Right, no, that, yeah.
Fired, no certificate, no gold star.
Oh, I've just lost my gold star.
You've lost your gold star.
Okay,
Oh.
so we've been.
So I guess my whole point around the trees, just so that we're clear, is that we have, yes, she's talking to staff and that's great, but we have an understanding of what the outcome ends up being.
Yeah, and
Does that make sense?
I've noted that and added
Yeah,
that to that.
Perfect. So, sorry, I appreciate that the email is there. I missed it, but thank you.
So we need a mover and a seconder to receive the, yeah, John's already moved. We have a seconder.
I'll second.
Peter, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carried.
Happy to move to go to public.
Okay. John moving. And don't need a second.
Happy to move the minutes.
Need to wait.
We have to put the motion to the table.